the main anime. Um, I was supposed to do this like a long time ago, but for some reason, after PlayStation got rid of its communities, couldn't do it anymore, and Google Plus doesn't exist anymore. So that's something of the past. So now I'm making this one. This one will be short and sweet because you can't really upload anything that exceeds, like anything that pushes past 20 minutes. You can't upload it on YouTube, or it will take a long time. Maybe you could get 30 minutes, but after that, um, sayonara. So the three animes I'm going to speak of are some of the best animes I've actually seen for the past 3 months, and they're so exceptional. One of them already got a second season. Now the other two are fairly new, and that one is Spy X Family, and the other one is Estab Life. The third one is the one that has a sixth season, and that's the 86. Now, I wasn't considering much about 86. Here we go, another authoritarian type of anime, dictator anime, communist anime, you know, relief from oppression, that type of stuff. But it's actually good, really good. So without further ado, I'm gonna get straight into it. I'm gonna go from the one that I considered the least of the best, but it's better than most of the other animes are out right now, to the best one. I'm pretty sure you guys already probably know, if you're a fan of anime, you know that that's probably a Spy X Family. But then that's to be decided because they haven't put up their second season yet, so we don't know how things are going with their second season. But so far, the second season of 86 isn't much to be desired. So that's why I say Spy X Family is probably the best one. Now, I didn't consider much about Spy X Family before. I actually thought it was going to be stupid and actually not interesting, but it's actually better than something like 86. And that's to be something that's better than 86, it's very hard. And it's not as complicated as 86, because 86 is really complicated. In fact, I might think if Spy X Family does not do better in the second season, the 86 might still be better than it. But it's very hard to see how things are going right now for Spy X Family. So I'll start from Estab Life. Why this is one is in the third. Estab Life, as you can see it on the screen, is extremely good for one reason. Its hook completely blindsided you. But it's not just the hook, it's the leading from the hook. The beginning of the anime shows something that's very dark, very depressing. But that turns out to be something like a blindside you, to fool you into believing what you think this anime is isn't what you think this anime is. This is what the director and the people who made this anime, this distributed this anime, to make you believe that what you think this anime might be and might become is something completely different than what you expect. Pay attention to the beginning of the anime. The anime in at the beginning will tell you exactly how this anime is going to proceed forward. Now, this is not really serious anime. This is not one of the best anime, but this is an anime that has potential simply because of its hooks, its leading, its purpose, and what's going on in this world. So you're introduced to characters in this game. I mean, in this world. Uh, First, the main character, which I believe I won't state all the characters' names. I want to state the two that are far more interesting for right now because I have to get through this. One is, um, let me see. I wrote it down so I don't forget, because it's hard to actually log all this stuff and make sure you're completely correct about what you're logging down and don't make mistakes on these things. Yeah, and here's the thing. I thought I actually logged this thing down properly. But apparently no, I logged it down properly. Yeah, just had to make sure I got it correct. So, the main character of this anime is Equa, and it's hard to remember her name because if you watch a lot of anime, something like a name Equa would completely pass your mind. The second main character, you could say, is the blonde woman, but it's not really her. It's the other one, is Martez. Now, there's something going on very strange between these two characters, and if you pay attention to the anime, that's also blind. It's not explained what's going on with Equa, but you know that there's something deeply going on. that's not cutesy whatsoever. That's kind of dark. But the anime is never going to tell you that. And there's another thing going on with the secondary character, Martez, or these are all primary characters. Martez, that is not very cutesy either. That's kind of dark. So this anime falls in between the line of two different things. One very cutesy, one very dark. One very humorsy, one very serious. One very perverted, one very not perverted. It's a very strange anime. Like it's made for people who are pro this side and pro the other side. It's trying to satisfy both, but at the same time keeping freedom. Now, the purpose of this anime is to, as in the name of the anime, to establish life free from hypocrisy, communism, or fascism, or however you want to say. Whoever built this world that they're in, whoever created this world that they're in, these people are in. Either these people that are in this world, Equa, Martels, either these people are alive or they're individuals playing Avatar. But there's nothing that to clue you that this is one of those type of animes that people are actually playing an avatar in the game. These characters are supposed to be actually alive, but really, what are they? This is mainly can you could mainly see this later on in the anime from Martez position. So I will leave that up to everyone's imagination, whether this anime, the people in this anime are real, or whether they're created from some simulation type um, computer program, whether this is Tron or whether everyone is here is alive. Because in this world, there are demi-humans, there are humans, there are animals, and there are robots. There are all sorts of things going on in this world. But if you look deeper into the anime, you know something is going on that's not right with the anime. Everything is cutesy, but something is going on deeper. That the story slowly progresses you forward as you watch anime. You don't see it because it's overpowered by the cutesiness, but every now and again in every single anime, there's something that pops up that says, "Hello, hello, I'm here. I'm this dark thing that you don't know about, but it's gonna play later on in the season." Or season two, season three. It's like Netflix's Stranger Things. Yes, this anime starts off dark with what's going on, but you know nothing about the upside down until you get deeper into the future seasons. So that's what I believe is going on here. Something that the developers will never tell you that you will eventually find out as you proceed forward. Now that's Estab life. I could see extractors. That's what their job is to extract you from this depressing communist type of life to a freedom of the West, as they call it, the freedom from suffering. That's what Echo calls it, the freedom from suffocation. And from freedom from suffocation means you could go liberate and live in this side of the world, not in this side of the world, to be free, because there's a type of oppression system going on there. So with that out the way, um, the last thing I did say was there's something going on Equa and there's something going on Martinez. But there's also a sense of perversity that's within the anime. I'm not sure if that's going to appeal to all audiences. It definitely won't appeal to children. So kids shouldn't watch this. And if you're going to watch this, please advise your kids that this is kind of a silly thing that's going on. That they decide that it's cutesy, that really isn't cutesy. It's not meant for kids. So this is meant for adult humor. It's not meant for children. So this is not a children's anime. So it's not perverted to the level of some harem animes are, but it has hints of perversion in it. Simply for the fact of executing a type of story that appeal. Like I said, this anime is supposed to be appeal to all audience. At least that's what I get the feel. But that was a stab life. The next one I'll get into that coming in the second place. Um, and I will talk about the certain characters within the anime. I like the wolf man, and I like the robot as well. But I think the main characters um, that are interesting right now are the two primaries and the bizarrety of Equa herself. I think there's something extremely weird about her. Like in the anime, it's specifically stated that when she was being interrogated by this person, I won't say who it was, that she could be of any age. You could be a kid, she could be an adult, she could be ancient because of what she is and what this world represents. and no one truly knows, not her friends, not her associated, but I think there's something very strange going on with her existence. So I'll leave that to everyone's imagination. The second one on this list is actually the 86. And boy, I will tell you, the last time you've actually seen an anime like this to this level of suffering or detail or composure of where the story needs to get to and what it needs to do. This was presented before my very eyes when I first got into anime. Was with Gundam Zeta. So this is like a new age version of Gundam Zeta. I know to some people that would sound more like heresy, but it really isn't. This is very much like a new age version of Gundam Zeta without the Gundams. The story of the Gundam world, where it's Seed Gundam, New Gundam, or Gundam Revolution, or even Gundam Unicorn. The story is what makes Gundam Gundam, not the Gundams themselves. And in this story, 86 is the story itself that makes 86 beyond its capacity right now. So this is 86, and all the characters here in 86 are very, very important. Each character in this 86 are very, very important. But the two main characters that you want to focus on more than anything in 86 are the two primaries. Now, the two primaries are you could say are both protagonists of the story, whether it feels like one is the protagonist, but at the same time, the other really is the protagonist. It's kind of like watching that movie Big Trouble in Little China. You know Jack Burton is actually the main character of the story, and you're seeing the story through his eyes. But at the same time, he really doesn't feel like the main character at all. Wang feels like the main character in Big Trouble in Little China, even though the story is told from the visual point of Jack Burton. And the same applies to this. Even though the story is actually Lena's story, that she is actually the main character, the girl with the white hair girl with the hat on, it's not really truly 100% her story. It's more the story of the Reaper. And the Reaper goes by the code name that he's going under is Undertaker. And that's the short black hair guy. Um, if I remember his name correctly, and I have to make sure I remember these names correctly because there's so many names. Um, I remember Lena's name easy because, well, she's Lena. I wrote down so many things about this anime, but I want to make it extremely short. But I don't want to miss certain things with regards to the anime, and specifically his name because his name is also a major factor. Okay, Shin. Okay, so Lina and Shin. Shin is the short-haired guy. He's a commander of a unit called Undertaker, and Lina is a handler, and a handler basically gives orders in combat, kind of like a person, a forward observer, give information with regards to bombings and stuff. So she handles how certain actions happen on the battlefield, and the commander execute those actions on the battlefield physically. So she stays in the rear with the gear, but she's moved the pieces around, and the commander basically execute physically the actions. So that's what it is. So here's the story of 86, just to start it off, and then I'll end it real quick. 86 is basically a world where two nations are fighting against each other. This is a story from the past, an ancient past. So here's the rundown. Giadian Empire is one nation. The other nation is the Republic of San Magnolia. And these two have been in conflict in the past, before our story actually starts. So Gaiden eventually became smart enough that they created AI tech that could basically do anything based on human brainwaves. So these AI tech eventually became, it's kind of like their first version of sentience, but it was kind of under their control. Eventually it turns against them and started to destroy the Gaiden Empire by itself. And so a lot of Gaiden people fled for their lives, and the structure of their buildings and so on and so forth got destroyed, but not before the Giadian Empire sick these actual creatures, these robots called Legion, upon the Sang Magnolia army. And the Sag Magnolia army didn't have anything to defend themselves against something that, to this level, there was no such thing as robots and techs within this world that had to do anything with this level of advanced military warfare. So Sag Magnolia people got this, dominated, and all other nations following suffered the same fate. Eventually, um, the robots turned against their masters, and Gaadim's empire suffered the same thing. So the story progressed as they go forward. Um, a couple of years later, decades later, to be honest with you, after that war was over, the Republic of San Magnolia created certain laws so certain people cannot be within their borders and their the community, so to speak. So San Magnolia, which was very democratic, now became a communistic type of ruling because they considered what happened to them as due to their own personal weakness. They allowed weakness to get into their skin, get into their behavior. They became too lax, and so they became very authoritative, very fascist, and anything that was deemed weak was purged from their existence. And that's where Lena comes in. Lena represents the pure blood citizens of that country. And that country, most of the pure blood citizens all have the same color hair that she does, the white hair. And that's how this is linked towards things of our human past, such as World War II and the Nazis. And you can see that within her uniform as well, that she's wearing total military type, fascist type of clothing. Um, and that type of situation that happened within that war kind of created the type of government within Lena's lifestyle, her mentality, her behavior, how she does certain things in life, and how she treat others. However, Lena is not like everyone else. She believes in the people that she's fighting for. She knows that they're all humans, and once the Republic of Magnolia got to the tech level equal to that of Giardia, they created robots of their own. However, their robots had human pilots, which Shin and his crew, the Undertakers, operated. So their ones weren't completely autonomous. Their ones had human pilots in it. So when those human pilots died, it wasn't robots that were dying. Like on the other side, the legions were actually people. So that's a little sum up of the first season. Lots of war happened, lots of situation happened. And you could say from episode one, the Colorados, which are the people who are undertakers, a kind of racial group of people, a vast different type of people, are called Colorados. So the Albas are what Lena are, white hair type people, and everyone else are called Colorado. So there's no black, brown, or any of this culture and or this type of racial group. All racial groups are considered Colorado, where all people who are specifically one type of group are considered Alba. So that was episode one, and then you move into episode three, where you introduce the Shin and who he is, and then you move into episode two, where you learn of the history of what happened to the Giadian Emperor in 2139, the invasion. Then you move into episode 3, which shows Shin, the Undertaker, talking about his past, so on and so forth, and understanding um, that Lena might be too innocent for this type of job because she has a very innocent belief. She wants people to survive, and that's not the type of war that Shin is fighting. And then we move into episode 5, where she learns more about what the legions are and what their purpose are, and their subfunctions designed using human brainwaves. So Lena starts to eventually become this very hard-hearted and heavy person, going from beginning of first episode to the mid first episode to the last episode. Slowly she starts gaining weight, as in responsibilities, and she becomes a very heavy and determined person. So it's not like she was heavy from the beginning. She was morally justified and righteous in her beginning to naivety, and eventually that naivety slowly started to bleed out, and she became more justified in and determined without the naivete going forward, and weighed everything more of a professional point of view rather than I want to save everyone point of view. So as it goes from episode 8 into episode 9, where Lena takes actions of her own, She then rains napalm on the enemy in episode 9, and this is all in season 1, ignoring what the Sang Magnolia army and those who are in charge says, and takes actions into her own hands to save those of the Undertaker's crew. And then later on, in the last, I say almost towards the end of the last episode, we learned that a tragic events needs to happen so Lena can be pushed forward to remove from that innocence. So even going all the way up to the end, a type of innocence was put within Lena's existence until the very end where something really tragic needed to happen to get Lena out of that type of young type of behavior into a more mature woman willing to do what is necessary to have others to survive and take responsibilities for our actions. And then we go straight into season 2 directly after. And in season 2, it's somewhat different from season 1. And let me see here. Okay, so season 2 is somewhat different from season 1 because season 2, you have Shin now within a different type of group. So basically, they weren't supposed to survive towards the end. The Undertaker crew weren't supposed to survive towards the end. It's not really a spoiler to say so, um, but or maybe they were supposed to survive towards the end. I don't know. The ending is kind of strange for season 1, and things kind of pick up differently in season 2 because now in season 2, the crew that weren't supposed to survive or were supposed to survive or intended to survive um, find themselves within the Giadian Empire, which is miles and miles away, probably thousands of miles away from where the original Magnolia borders were. So they find it very strange that they're now within Giadian Empire location, which now we've discovered that Giadian Empire doesn't really exist anymore. It's more like the Republic of Giadia. That's what they're calling it, or the Giadian Republic. Or no, it's not the Republic. It's the Giadia Federation. That's what they're called. Giadia Federation. And within this federation, things are not so much different than the Republic of San Magnolia. They believe in kind of the same type of things, but how they execute things is a little bit differently. They're more humane towards their people, and they believe if soldiers are going to be in war, then certain people should be held responsible for those things. But eventually, you kind of see that it was just an illusion that they're willing to sacrifice kids to go off into battle, the same as Magnolia was. And eventually that comes into fruition as you proceed forward into the story. And it's very strange because the first season was Lena's story, and now this season, second season, is more Shin's story and Shin. And what was beautiful about the first season is that it was all about the story of each individual characters, even sub characters, even tertiary characters. And then you get to learn a little bit about each character: the blonde hair kid, the green hair guy, the red hair woman, and even the long hair white Alba. And that you learn that certain Albas, if you side with, Colorados, you get cast out from the Magnolia. So there's a lot of information and a lot of stuff going on with this anime that's completely political. And you can make an entire dissertation on this anime. That's why it's so good. And right now with the second season, we just found that certain characters die, um, and then Shin is being held responsible for certain actions that he took on the battlefield. We also get to learn that he has some type of psychological problem going on with his existence because um, he yearns for the battlefield to a fault of a psychopath, like a warmonger, and he doesn't know how to get rid of this character that's part of his existence, that within his innate behavior. Because since he was young to where he is now, he's known nothing but the battlefield. So he has become this complete psychopath on the battlefield now. While the Undertaker Reaper truly represents his existence because he's more like he yearns for death. Like death is a part of life now. So it's very interesting to see where the story would go with between Shin and Lena. Well, are they going to meet up again? Are they going to be in conflict with each other again? Are they ever going to settle? Are they going to be a thing? Are they going to be in relationship with each other? Are they going to like each other? Or is it going to be a Gundam Zeta thing between 4 and Camille. And everyone who knows about Four and Camille knows that that didn't end out quite the way you wanted to. So hopefully this is not a Four and Camille situation. I really don't want it to be a Four and Camille situation. I want this to be the resolution to a Four and Camille situation. I want this to be the happy ending to a Four and Camille situation. They deserve this type of situation. Not all MMAs in these type of capacity when it comes to war have to end in a Four and Camille situation. That was then. This is now. So hopefully maybe it doesn't go down that route, but if it does, this will go down as one of the greatest animes of war animes of all time. And going from that, I spoke a lot on that because this really is a great anime. We move on to the best anime so far. So Spy X Family is this anime right here, and Spy X Family is, well, since I only got like 5 more minutes left of this video before I upload it, what I could say about Spy X Family. From the beginning, I thought it was going to be a failure. Turned out to be, I was completely wrong. Not only is it funny, not only is it charming, not only is the story done well, not only is certain things executed properly from the beginning, not only is the hook good, not only are the characters good, but you were completely surprised by how the story was progressing. Yes, it's the cliche to have a spy who's kind of snobbish, yes, but you have how he does his snobbishness and his spyness is not to the level of Sakamoto, Deska, or if anyone who knows what I'm talking about, Sakamoto from that anime, not to that Sakamoto conceded the level, but to a certain type of degree of conceit based on his type of job performance. But I never expected to have to deal with psychic part of the story. I thought this was going to be like a James Bond type anime, and then all of a sudden we're throwing in psychic within the anime, and the psychic in this anime happens to be the little girl. And this is why this story is kind of genius because you get to see certain things from both sides of the equation, both from Lloyd Forger's side, the Yora Forger side, and Anya Forger side. And Lloyd Forger is the main guy. He's the guy who is the main protagonist of the story, and Yora Forger is the girl who's pretending to be the mother of the group, and Anya Forger is the little girl who was adopted in order to complete this package of a family type of setting. Then you have the dog as well, Bond. Um, so the whole story goes that he has to stop this type of organization move forward, and in order to do so, he has to develop a family. He's never had a family, never wanted a family, had want nothing to do with a family. Eventually, they convince him in order, since he's the best, he's the only one who could do it. So he ended up trying to get a family. So the first thing he did is trying to get a little girl, and he needed the little girl to be smart enough to pass an examination. Unfortunately, he thought the little girl was kind of stupid, Anya, but then he found out he doesn't know that she's a psychic, so she kind of reads his mind and try to figure out how to do certain things, and she knows how to pass certain tests and achieve certain things and obey certain commands simply because she knows what others are thinking. So that works out well for him. And eventually he had to get a wife in order for that to be a joint situation. Wife, child, and himself as the father. So after this is all set and the anime proceed forward, it really starts to pick up and get hilarious because now you have to. This child is reading the minds of two spies and trying to figure out how she's going to live, deal with two spies, and how she is going to actually accept living with two spies and living with their daily life of dangers and intrigue. And it gets even more interesting as you get into episodes like episode 3 and then episode 4, which is one of my best episodes, probably one of the most hilarious episodes, because you get to meet the lead, the headmaster of a preppy school, of a very elegant school, and he's simply he. You'll understand what I mean when you get to episode 4. So things pick up very much within this anime, and it gets even greater as you proceed from episode to episode to episode. So I'm gonna end it off right there and says Spy Family is probably by far the best of these three and has high purpose. High being that Anya is going to be something of very, very high importance in the future. I could tell already. And not so much Lloyd, not so much Yuri, but The simple fact they decided to include someone who has mind reading capabilities means that we could go to a fire starter kind of situation, or we could end up going Akira type level of information, type level of power, where she becomes an incredibly problem and a threat as she gets older, or she deals with situations and solve them that quick that everything around her becomes a threat to her. And she could either go either Daenerys Targaryen, or she could go the other way and liberate and make things right. So how this is going to play a factor within two people who are spies, eventually as she get older, would she become a threat to them? Or would they become a threat to her? So it all depends on how things go within the story. So that's it for May's anime, and that's all I got to say. Spy X Family is pretty good. The other stuff are pretty good, and yeah, that's my opinion on this. I say this is Estab Life. I say Estab Life is like an 8 out of 10, and I say the 86 is definitely a 9.5 out of 10. Definitely easy. And Spy X Family is like a high 9.7, 9.8, 9.7. I say Spy X Family is a 9.8 right now. There's very little to knock it off where it's going right now. And if season two turns out to be something bad, it'll fall down. But this is in the high nines. This is in the high nines as well. I'll say 9.5, 9.6. And this is like in the high eights, like 8.75, 8.9. You could say it's a 9 if you would like to, but to be honest with you, this move anywhere from an 8.5 to 8.9. So the highest anime right now is Spy X Family, and one of the greatest war anime right now is actually the 86, and so far that I could see. And that's 9.5, 9.6. But who knows? It could be 9.4, 9.5, and 9.6. But right now, this is where I stand within this anime, and this is good stuff. Very good stuff. For the last 3 months, last 3 or 4 months of anime, these are the three ones I believe that are good right now with regards to May. Now, moving forward from May, going all the way into August, um, where May, yeah, from where we are May right now to all the way into June, July. I'll be able to see whether those summer animes are good. But by June, I'll have like June anime up, and I'll also associate it with the past 3 or 4 months of anime and see if any of those anime can beat out the 86 or Spy X Family. If they can't, then that even tells you even more about Spy X Family and 86, and even Estab Life. But I think there are going to be other animes better than Estab Life. But I highly doubt there are going to be any animes that are better than Spy X Family right now. So that's it.